Yo, y'all listening to Savage Media Radio, your number one source for underrated and non-viral topics, discussions, and news from the web and around the world. Think you can handle that much truth? Buckle up, bruh. It's about to get savage.
That's right, guys. We're back. It's Wednesday.
Wacky Wednesday.
And it's 8 o'clock. So we're on time. All right.
I know, right?
We're doing this. We're doing the damn thing. That's what it's about. You know what I'm saying? Because we changed the format up. It's a week that we made a change. It changes are coming and it's here.
Wait a minute. There's a format change?
Yeah.
There's a format change, ladies and gentlemen. If you're listening now, it's definitely not going to be the same way you're used to. So don't be alarmed.
Don't be alarmed in 45 minutes.
No, that's good. It's exciting. A new format change. I love it.
Yes.
What's it about?
Yeah, well, we have 2 days. Instead of just doing all Wednesday, we decided that 2-hour podcast is too damn long for people to sit still and listen. Most people that listen to podcasts, they need, their attention span is only for so long.
They run out of weed, right? They run out of weed. They got to go back.
That's exactly.
They got to go back out.
They run out of weed. They run out of booze. They got to go back and get more to get ready. Or the train ride runs out. So
right.
People listen to it on the train, or their commute. They're driving in the car. They're just going to one booty call house 20 minutes away, so they only can listen to 20 minutes of it.
I know all about that. All about that life.
There you go. So come on, it's real life. It happens. So with that being said, we're making some changes. We'll make some more changes in time. But we, our first year, we want to make some changes up and see what people think, see if people like it, and we got a lot of things. We got a lot of going. We got 5 brains. We got a lot going through our heads all the time. And we want to be creative, hot, fresh, and new, and keep things savage like we always do. Of course, you feel me? Yeah. What's
let the folks know what they can look forward to today, because they're gonna be like, "What's happening? Where is everybody?"
Yes. So there's only 3 of us on the call right now, ladies and gentlemen. So don't be alarmed. I know it's always the full crew, as we always try to. But being that we changed the format, we have a quick little intro. Hey, welcome back. We always do. And today we have 2 segments. We have two segments, and the first segment is gonna be Fuck Shit with Troy. Woo woo. About to get real. Because now I can really be passionate. You know I like to be passionate. So now I can really be passionate. And our second segment today is going to be Politicking with Doug, y'all.
There you go.
See, I got it right. Come on.
You did. That's good. And on politic, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about net neutrality. So I'm going to circle back on that subject. But also, the big question, is Big Brother, Google, and YouTube trying to suppress independent media? Question mark. So that's what I'm going to be talking about.
I got the evil face with the hands going like, must be good. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, so today's format, again, ladies and gentlemen, don't be alarmed. We are doing new things because we have to change things up. We can't do the same thing all the time, especially when you're new. We want people to be interested and let them know, like, hey, you might be tuning in today, and next thing you know, it's something new tomorrow. You know how we do with our topics. We keep it fresh, we keep it savage, and we love what we do. So with that being said, don't get used to the same thing all the time, because, we got to make sure we keep it popping, keep it fresh, and keep it new, and keep you guys on your toes just as well as ourselves. Am I right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Couldn't put it any better.
So if you guys are in the chat room, please make sure you're active. Let us know, hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm listening. Let us know what's good, because we're definitely, we love our chat room visitors. We love our people who talk with us, because at the end of the day, it keeps us going. It keeps things going, especially with our new segments. You definitely need that little extra push. We need you guys. So if you're tuning in and you're listening live, please let us know. I'm here. We're good. Respond. Say something. You're more than welcome to.
I'll be monitoring the chat. I'll be calling you guys out, so you better get on there. And of course, if you keep the conversation going, we will always give you your props, because we always do.
Sure. That's definitely something we do. We always definitely do. And so now we're going to kick things over and get things moving, because it's 8:05 since we're on time. Now we're going to kick things over to Fuck Shit with Troy. Let's go.
We have no intro music, so I'm going to rap.
I'm going to beatbox.
Somebody give me a beat. Yes, fuck shit with Troy up in the house. Okay, we need to stop.
Boom, take it away.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Fuck Shit with Troy, y'all. It's your boy Troy Weeks. You know how we do here on Savage Media Radio. We keep it savage. That was definitely straight savage. Shout out to y'all.
We about
to do all the intro music should be random right in that moment, because that's how it felt. It felt really good. But yes, so Fuck You with Troy, kicking this segment off, we're talking about I am sick and tired of the negativity. The social media trolling with the comments and the shade, it has to stop. Like, at the end of the day, it's too much negativity in the world. So many people cannot handle that negativity and don't know how to channel it and be able to move past it. So because of it, it's really fucking up people's lives. It really is. And now that everyone it's easy to accessible to have social media, anyone who's on the grind, on the come up, trying to live their life and do their thing, can, put their things out on social media. And people who have no life and got shit going on for themselves can just get on here and blast them and talk bad about them and bring them down. Like, you really don't know how that affects people. Y'all need to wake up. Like, that could be you. Like, instead of hating on somebody else doing what they're doing, get your shit together and get yourself out there and do what you got to do for you instead of wasting your time and energy on leaving an opinion that can't pay a bill. Your opinions can't do shit. It's good to help motivate people and let them know, hey, yeah, that wig wasn't it, or, the way you treated that person wasn't right, but come on. They're still human because we don't know the facts that led up to that point that we just saw. All we know is what we just saw, no matter what it is. So you really don't know the backstory about things in regards to social media. So I'm sick and tired of people being more negative than positive. The negativity is not helping anybody because it's just beating people down. That's why all you do when you turn on social media, that's why all you see is all these fights and people getting crazy. All you see is plastic surgeries and changing our bodies. All you see is, what you should be eating, what you should be doing. Versus like the real things that can really say, let you be happy and be free. Like, hey, be happy with who you are. You're free to be yourself. It's, freedom of speech. Just all these things that make us be who we are. We don't hear none of those positive things really being pushed on us, but besides the negative things, especially, with the news. So, like, there's so much negativity going around. I get the news to my phone. That's why I don't even watch the news. I don't never, the news is so negative. It's always something bad going on. There's positive things thrown in there to make it look real, but it's a lot of propaganda and negativity. So with that being said, that's the first thing. I got another thing, but that's the first thing. I'm stopping right there for right now. Like, the reason why I brought that up is because you guys know that I'm on a web series, docu-series, reality series, whatever you want to call it. It's definitely something. It's definitely something that the pilot's almost done being filmed right now, but we actually put out the first episode and put out the meet the cast and all that kind of stuff. So we've been getting some good buzz in, and of course then my director sends me a message that says, hey, we put the show out, don't respond to any negativity that people put out there. Just know that we sparked up something in them if they get some emotion in them if they're getting if they're responding in some way. So I'm like, what? That only proves my point. Like, no matter, like, I cannot no longer allow other people to dictate my future, and I'm worried about what people say or think. And I've never really been the type of person that really worried about what people say or think. But it did play a toll on me and why I waited so long to be public with so many different things. But now I'm just like, I don't really care. Now I have to, I have to look at that and be like, okay, and that's somebody's opinion. It is what it is, but anyone's entitled to their opinion. Doesn't mean I have to either pay attention to it or even give a care about what it says. But it's the fact that people will find something negative and something, and anything you do, somebody's going to find something negative to try to bring you down, just to try to hit you below the belt or hit you in your stomach, like take you somewhere else or get you out of character. That's what people are always trying to do. That's why we even have reality shows and why they exist. Stop the negativity, y'all. It's time to wake up, smell the roses. Like, life is too short and tomorrow's not promised to nobody. Like, you got to do what it is that you want to do. Instead of focusing your negative time, your energy and your time on being negative and worrying about what somebody else is doing, focus your energy and time on being a boss and know what you're doing and bring your shit, get your shit together. Yeah, I'm here.
I got something to kind of back up your statement. You were talking about people being nasty to people for no reason and just being negative and putting people down. Well, I don't know if I've ever told you guys about Calvin. I had an old friend, and his little brother was named Calvin. He played on a high school football team. Very, very, like, well-oiled machine. They got a bunch of trophies. They went to championships every year. One year, Calvin had an off year, and it came to the game right before the championship game. So he was I'm going to say he was probably a kicker because this is why this all occurred. But he happened to miss the game-winning field goal. So he missed it. They ended up being, like, I think 2 points down or something like that. And it's usually fine, especially in high school. You get over it, you dust your shoulders off, and you get ready for the next year, whatever. But this school was full of heartless people. And I say that because just of what led up to this horrible situation that occurred. So in the coming weeks after after that whole incident and after he missed the field goal and the team didn't make it to the championships, they kept like kind of heckling him and talking down to him, making him feel like he's a piece of shit. He was just about to go to college, so he was kind of trying to get his shit together, and that was just really messing with his mind. Long story short, a week and a half after that incident, so about 3 weeks after the field goal miss, he ended up hanging himself in his closet. So I always say that you never know how deeply you're hurting people, and you never know what someone's going through. So always keep that in mind. I always keep the story of Calvin in my mind when I treat people a certain way. I always treat them how I want to be treated. And I know I go through a bunch of shit, and I don't need other people's shit when I'm going through shit. So I want to make I know I can run into somebody who has the same mental health issues, same bad days, same hardships that I do, and I don't want to, like, I don't want to make their life more miserable. So always think of Calvin. I always say that. Think of Calvin before you act. Think of Calvin before you speak. Think of Calvin before you do anything negative to somebody that you may not know anything about. So I always want to just kind of push that to our listeners to think of Calvin.
Definitely. Right. That's definitely something in my head that I'll never forget. Think of Calvin, right? Well, you know what? I'll definitely keep that story of Calvin going. Like, I felt that was very, impactful, and that was really good to hear because, especially for nowadays, kids are nowadays with, social media and how easy it is to, make fun of people, call people out, record people and don't feel like being recorded. It's just too much. It's too much, and it's pushing too many people's buttons to the wrong place, and that's why we have all these mass shootings and all this craziness going on. We should be giving hugs instead of utilizing our time to just leave negative comments. Give somebody a hug. Tell them you care about them genuinely, like that. Hey, I'm here for you. Even if you don't know them, but you took time to get to know them. You might not know them like that. They're not your brother, your sister, your cousin. But if you took the time to get to know somebody, sometimes somebody just needs to hear, I'm here for you. I care for you. I have coworkers now to this day who I've met, and I've had those relationships with them because you never know. You never know. So we got to, it's important. Stop the negativity. Doug, do you have anything to say about this before I move to one more thing I have to say?
Well, I guess I had a question. So you're getting a lot of negative stuff from the reality show. Is that
not really, not a lot of negative stuff, but some people are started to be negative about it. And this is just now starting. So this is only the beginning. Right. So I just feel like, for me, this is all new to me because I'm used to being public, but I'm not used to being public on that way. So I'm used to having some kind of privacy. And so now I'm open to the public. And so
right. And so it kind of puts you in a little bit of a tight spot, and where on one hand, by doing a reality TV show, you put yourself out there to be judged, which is great because you're doing it. And then at the same time, it leaves you very vulnerable to the crazies and the negative, the negative stuff that's going to come with it. And I'd say that just you're at some point, if you can get here's how I flip a lot of that stuff. A lot of times I really don't read the comments, and a lot of people that I talk to that are in the entertainment world or in the acting world or whatever, they don't read the comments because it's just going to turn into hater fest. Everybody's going to be bad. So you'll have to figure out for you is just to kind of keep your head down and follow your heart and not really worried about the comments, because that basically just will end up throwing a bunch of negative energy. And, it's like your first reaction might be like, what the fuck? And then your second reaction might be, I suck. And then your third reaction is like, what? So there's just different kind of phases to that. And I'd say, one, we're in such a peculiar, as human beings, the devices that we use, we're becoming less personable because we don't interact with people as much.
Hello, that's my story.
We don't interact with people as much. So I know for you guys in, New York and New Jersey, and it's a very dense area, and people are, kind of everybody's crowded in on the subway. Everybody's compact and kind of squished together. But a lot of time, in other parts of the country and other parts of the world, people, they retreat to their corner and they have their device. And that's the only way they communicate with society is through this filter. right? And you don't know what, they don't.
What do you mean?
Well, rather than, it's like, put it this way. If anybody was going to walk up to you and say, Troy, you suck, they would probably get they might get a reaction that they wouldn't like.
It might.
There you go. They might get a reaction they wouldn't like. Where when they're doing it on the internet, it's very easy to say, Troy, you suck, because they're hiding behind their device. They're hiding behind their Facebook, or they're hiding behind their Instagram or whatever it is, just for negative. And that's what I mean, is that how we are interacting with people is it's not normal. We're in this very abnormal place where we have this, like, I could have a fake Gmail account and I can call everybody I want a jerk off with no repercussion. Where if you were to say that to somebody out in their space, you might get a completely different reaction. And I think that's kind of, that's interesting to me, that, but also just that as you're going down this journey, you have to, if what you're doing is putting out good things into the universe, people are going to just say whatever they're going to say, and you can't even look up. You just have to do what you got to do and just keep doing that. And the moment that you start reading the comments and that stuff, all of a sudden they win, because you're trying to get, maybe subconsciously getting validation from this. So it's real hard. You're trying to gauge where you are, but at the same time, dang, what you want to do is have the director kind of give you some feedback, or somebody that you really love and trust give you some feedback, if at all. Maybe the feedback just gets in your head and it completely fucks with you, and you're better off not knowing. I don't want to know. Mary had a little lamb.
I don't really need feedback from anybody, because, like, at the end of the day, what you see is what you get with me. And I say people that all the time. Like, this is who I am. Like, it's not a joke. I'm not going to put on a facade to be someone I'm not, because I've always been me. And all I know how to be is me.
It's not tailor-made for anybody. So for them to say, try doing a little bit more of this, or say this next time, or then it wouldn't be reality.
I'm not going to remember that anyway, first of all. I'm not going to remember that. I'm not going to remember the facts to be like, oh, yeah, no, I'm just going to be me. Exactly. What I do is, like, to me, you live and learn in life. And one thing, the reason why I got into this and on the whole purpose of it all is because I feel like I was created to be a voice. This is the platform, and being on that platform allows you to have power in a way that can be influenced to other people. And I feel like if we continue to allow people to be those role models and influencers for us who are not doing the things they should, then we are okay with it. So I feel like some of us are born with talents and things that are meant to be in the public eye, that are meant to be influences and power in people's life, or to make change in the world. And I'm definitely one of those people. And so me coming out about my sexuality, me being very boisterous and passionate about no matter what I want to talk about, it's me allowing, there's other people out there who want to say what I have to say or feel how I feel, or may not. And I have a way of connecting with people and getting people to talk to me and get them to open up. And so that is the platform that I use to make things happen. And so no matter what they say, at first, again, it's something new I'm getting into. So I had to realize that I got to realize now, even though it's in the beginning stages of what I'm doing, people are going to, even with a podcast, even if I wasn't doing reality TV, even though I was just doing a podcast, people are going to say things and do things regardless. So you just have to know how to deal with it later on and move past it and not allow it to affect you. So the only reason why I even saw it was because my producer told me that, people had said something and, we're striking up something if they're emotional, but I would have never saw it, because I feel like at the end of the day, people are going to say what they want to say regardless. And if they're not talking about you, it's better for them to be talking about you than to not be talking about you. So it doesn't matter to me. At this point, people are going to say how they feel, and they're going to want to prove their points because they're going to want their moment. I love the Real Housewives of Atlanta. That's the thing now. They're going to want their moment. So, you can have your moment on your own time. I'm not going to give you one. It's not. I rarely ever dwell in negativity anyway, so it ain't worth my time, because it takes more bones. It takes more bones and muscles to frown than to smile. Ain't nobody got time. So you can kick rocks and keep it moving.
I'll give you one, Troy, and it's like as far as like the Troy story, some are gonna get it, some aren't gonna get it, and so what? You just got to stick true to what the story is, and just don't validate any of that other stuff.
Someone who cares.
That's what I'm ready to say. That's exactly what I heard.
By the way, Doug, I'm getting that on my neck.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right on my neck like a hickey. Someone who cares. That's definitely a great motto. Because if you allow what people do to dictate what you want to do, you'll never do anything. Because everyone's not gonna like your ideas. If you want to do something and you feel like if the idea was given to you, then go forward with it. Don't ask somebody else about it. Because what people tend to do is, one, they may steal your idea and make money off of it, then you screwed. Or two, they tend to not want to see you progress and succeed, because then that means you're going to have to stop being there, move in a different elevate into a new place in your life. And the reality is people don't like to see you elevate, because then that leaves them behind. Then it makes you seem like you're better than them, and you're not. But that's the reality of what's created when people want to succeed and move on with their life, and you got people that want to sit and do the same thing that they've been doing for years and don't want to change. Don't be trying to put chains and holds on me because you want to stay where you at. You're comfortable being stagnant. You're comfortable where you are. Do not try to limitate my dreams and goals because there's no ceiling on them. Let me be. Get with the program or get out of the way. Point blank, period. Life goes on.
Very true.
There you go.
You have something to say, Doug? Oh, I thought somebody else.
No, I say there you go. There you go.
Yeah,
very wise words.
Listen, life is too short to allow anything to change or alter your mood, what you want to do with your life, which direction you want to go in, what your ideas or your thoughts are, because we tend to think it's so heavily weighed because of social media, the vanity, how we get validated. It sucks that we feel so validated by how many likes we get on Facebook and social and Instagram and Snapchat, and like, come on. These are people and friends you don't really have. These people are not your friends. Yes.
I have the potential to be very manic at times. So I tell people, if you're in the mood to ruin my day, just prepare for my wrath. So what I do when people fuck me over and fuck my day up, I just make sure that they regret every moment of it. That's all. Just all you gotta do. You just gotta, and don't fucking kill them with kindness. No. You just unleash your deadly wrath, and they won't do that shit again. That's how I deal with it.
Oh, I mean, that's definitely a way to look at it.
That's so funny. That's so funny. See, it's wild because, like, for me, I grew up when I was a younger kid. I would definitely be one that would have a temper, and it took me a really long time in my adult life to be able to chill the fuck out and not freak out all the time. And now it's like it's because by no means would I say that I'm conflicted, but at the same time, I worked a long, hard road to be able to self-govern and to be able to self-filter, so I didn't just call everybody, bad names, and want to throw off the gloves and go to toe to toe.
I'm stuck in the ditch of that road right now. I'm like, it's
the funniest thing in the world, where it's like, some people might think that I'm very vanilla, but it's like, it took me a long time to get to a spot to get to a spot.
She started again.
Well, it took me a long time to get to a spot where I wasn't freaking out all the time.
Listen, that's definitely good, because, anxieties are real. Courtney understands that, that's real. Like, some people can't handle that or know how to handle it when they're with you or around you. It just makes it matters worse. So, like, hey, shout out to you, Doug, to even, being a man, realizing that and saying, hey, it is what it is. Because it's not easy to admit willpower. It takes a lot of willpower. It's not easy to just admit when, hey, this is what it is. But the fact that you can look back and say, boom, this is where I was and this is where I am now. Thank you.
But I mean, isn't that the whole point of life? Like, isn't that the journey really? Like, you're kind of doing inventory and figuring out, like, wow, this worked, this didn't work. How do I progress as a human being to try to affect people in a positive way?
No, isn't that the point? It is the point, but a lot of people don't think like that.
Well, okay, I get it. I get it. But I guess for me, it amazes me when you talk to people and they're frozen in time, like cave people, and they just can't evolve intellectually or personally.
People are conditioned to act on impulse, so they're going to just snap on you either way. They're going to either snap in a good way, snap in a bad way. They don't take two or 3 or 4 seconds to say, hey, are my actions or are my words going to piss somebody off or hurt their feelings? No. We just say whatever we want to say, and that's it.
How we feel. Right.
You know, it's funny because, like, with the people that say negative comments and stuff, Troy, it's kind of like, look, man, if you think you can do it better, shoot your own freaking reality TV show. Have at it, Haas. Nobody cares. Go for it.
That's exactly me, because I love reality TV. So go on and do it. I'm definitely going to watch.
Yeah. So, rather than investing energy and trying to tell me how I'm not making, up to scratch, shoot your own show. Shoot your own show. It's kind of like it's just about moving forward. I just don't see any purpose in, have you ever heard that one where if you're pointing one finger at somebody, 3 fingers are pointing back at you? Right? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. It's like, what do you care what I'm doing? If you think you can do better, God bless you. Go for it. Go have at it. Roll cameras. Go.
Let me know.
Go.
I like and share. Right. I'm definitely down.
And the thing is, what's funny is, they're trying to tell you how to tell your story. It's like, nobody knows your story better than you.
Can you please say that again?
They're trying to tell you how to better tell your story.
Mm-hmm. I don't get it. That's exactly what happened. That comment was pretty much telling me about me being Black and Puerto Rican and how, this or that. I'm like, I'm the one that's telling it. This is my life, not yours. So what do you mean?
Exactly.
It's not authentic. It's not real. Or what are you talking about? Because if I name streets, motherfucker. You can come on those streets and ask about me. If you don't think it's real, come on.
There you go.
Nothing to hide.
But there you go. And that's my point. My point is that who better to tell your story than you?
Listen, with that being said, thank you, Doug.
There you go.
Can't nobody tell my story better than me. That's why God gave me the platform to do it the way I want to do it. I didn't go on any of these other shows, and I have the power to do it the way I want to with the podcast, with my music, with the docuseries, and all that's going on in my life. And so with that, I will utilize that to be positive, powerful, make impact and change in this world any way I can. If I have to be the face, then I will be the face, and that's all. And I'm willing to do that because I feel like I've worked hard enough and come to where all that I've been through in life, that I've experienced, to be where I am now, to be able to help one person. If I can just help one person, I'll start with that. One person make the change and change in their life that they need to be the better person that they need to be for themselves first. So with that being said, I'm going to leave y'all with that. That's Fuck Shit with Troy. I'm going to move things along to Politicking with Doug. Let's go.
All right. I'm going to beatbox. Boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom, 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 boom. Politicking. That was pretty good. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen of the inner tube, what's happening? It's Mr. Doug Carrion from Los Angeles, California. I hope you are doing well. Welcome to this new segment. Thank you, by the way, for listening to Savage Media Radio. If you want to reach out to us, do savageonair@gmail.com. Give us some comments. Tell us what you like. Give us some feedback. We're open to that. That's how we can grow the experience. We are living inside your ears right now. So if you like what we're doing, tell us. If you want us to flip things to the left. Yes, because we're in those earbuds. We're in your ears when you're on the train, when you're on the plane, when you're on your bike, when you're at the gym, wherever you are. That's where we are. So we hold that in high regard, and we appreciate you allowing us to be part of your day. So that's really cool. Now, enough of that. Talking about this politicking, I think we're calling it politicking, right?
Yeah. So you could switch it up, make it jive, and
I don't know. This week we're calling it politicking, and so as some of the listeners know, I do. For a long time, I was involved in politics as a young guy, I guess you could say as a guy that was involved in politics as a fan, kind of like understood the way the government worked. Yeah. And then I got really turned off and just didn't want to have anything to do with it. Got incredibly frustrated because I saw how hypocritical it was, and it was so confusing. The hypocrisy was so confusing. And then in my adult life as a dad, I feel kind of almost like it's my responsibility to be able to navigate as best I can what is going on in the world. So if the green Martians are coming over the hill, at least I know, like, okay, they're coming from the north. Look. Yeah. So I kind of came out of my bubble, maybe out of my bubble the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years, and started paying attention more to what was going on. So that's kind of, and so politicking is really about me kind of looking at things and things that I would say, wow, how does that work? How does that affect me as a human being, as a father? How does that affect people that live in the States? How does that affect people that live in the world? Because I realize America is not the only planet. It's not the only place. We're not number one. We're great, but we can aspire to be better, and we should be better. And sometimes we trip over ourselves. And when I hear stories, I'm like, God, what are we doing? Are we doing the right thing? Are we pointed in the right direction? And that's really what this segment is about, is me kind of in my travels seeing things and saying, hey, I want to bring this to light. I want to put a little bit of light on some things and then run it around the track and see if anybody's, I don't know if you have any feedback on it. So that's what the segment's going to be about. So the first, I don't know if we're going to have time for two, but I know the first one I want to talk about is Google, YouTube. Mm-hmm. It's Big Brother. Why is it suppressing independent media? And so that's something that's blipped on my radar this week. And so I'm a big fan of Jimmy Dore. And Jimmy Dore has a show called The Aggressive Progressive. And he has a podcast. And between The Aggressive Progressive, which is a YouTube show, but also the podcast, and he does stand-up comedy. He's a pretty smart fella, but that's how he makes his money. Okay, so that's how he makes his living. That's how he makes his livelihood. And so I was listening to an interview with him the other day, and he was talking about Facebook, and he was talking about Facebook and Google and YouTube, and how Google and YouTube specifically were doing things kind of behind the scenes and changing stuff up in respect to independent media. And so what's interesting is that YouTube, I'll talk about them for a second. YouTube, what they're starting to do is they're changing their algorithms. Yep. So a long time ago, Jimmy Dore's, let's say he put out a video, and his video, now granted, this guy is a very, very against the grain, progressive fella. His idea is like very, very, very left, and it's very hard for people to stomach. But his show's popular. That's the point. His show's popular. So what's interesting is that YouTube had changed the algorithm, and what they've been doing is they changed it from, rather than things being in the queue that were the most popular, let's say the word Syria, and he does a show on Syria, right? Okay. He might get 300, 400,000 views on that show, on that video, right? Mm-hmm. But with YouTube changing the algorithm, now what's happening is it's changed the algorithm. So the thing that's the most current is what pops up in your auto feed. Now, when you're CBS and MSN and CNN and Fox for that matter, you can crank out content every 3 seconds. Mm-hmm. So what that means is that shows like The Aggressive Progressive and Jimmy Dore's show drop all the way to the bottom because it's not now based on views, it's based on what's the most current. Okay, which is absolutely fascinating. So so what ends up happening is like autoplay will then start playing like a CBS clip on Syria or a CNN clip, and Jimmy's show gets kind of like bumped to the bottom of the queue. But what's also fascinating is that YouTube has been desubscribing people from this guy's channel. So which was there. He ends up getting emails from some of his listeners because again his show's popular, and some of the people had been desubscribed 4 times from his show, and so he always says in the header, he's like, "Hey man, make sure you're subscribed to the show because blah, 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 blah. And so also he gets feedback from some of his fans that are talking about how CNN basically is adding them as a subscriber, and they've never really subscribed to the show, which is interesting. So CBS, for example, a long time ago, they might have had 300 views, 400 views for one of their topics, right? Because nobody's going to YouTube to watch CBS News. It just isn't happening that way. But now what's happening is their videos are getting 2 and 3 million views because they're deranking Jimmy Dore's show.
Wow.
Right? So that's it's kind of interesting too, is, in that it's like YouTube, in the next segment, if there's time, I'm going to talk a little bit about net neutrality, which is also throttling back and changing some of these things. But in essence, what ends up happening with YouTube is that they basically are able to kind of squash whoever's not the top dog,
the little guys,
meaning
basically.
which is what's scary. Google's kind of doing the same thing. So before, sites, let's say like TruthDig or Alternet or Common Dreams, used to pop up in the queue if you were to type in a question, but now those sites aren't popping up anymore. So the Snopes of the world are getting ready to be kind of like boxed out. One of the things that I had learned from this interview with Jimmy Dore was since he makes his money from how many times his YouTube clips get viewed, okay, right now YouTube is demonetizing things that they don't want to have air, but CNN, NBC, MSNBC, they could monetize their videos. So let's say Jimmy Dore does a show. It's a trip. Let's say Jimmy Dore does a show about a teacher. I don't know. A couple months back, there was a story about a teacher that had brought a gun to school, and he flips out. He locks himself in his classroom. Okay, and the principal has to go in and get the guy out of there. Right. So it's right. So it's a straight up news story. Right. You'd agree. Jimmy Dore, aggressive, progressive, independent media guy. He talks about it, yet YouTube demonetizes it. So what they're saying is that it's unsuitable for their advertisers.
Like, we don't support this, and neither do our advertisers. We can lose money off of this, so we're making sure you can't make as much money off of it. That's terrible.
Right. So now, what that means is, let's say for you and I wanted to do a YouTube video, and we were talking about, the Parkland shooting being a conspiracy. Let's say you and I decide, whatever. We've got our own channel called The Conspiracy Show with Doug and Courtney.
Not a bad idea.
YouTube would take those down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they would take those down. So it's just, that's one of those things that as we dive deeper into the internet, and I think the internet is, it's a great space and it's a dangerous space at the same time. And I think that we should all be paying attention paying attention to the YouTubes of the world, and the Googles of the world when they're letting certain information ride to the top of the queue in the Google searches, and other information never make its way up to the top. And that's very, very dangerous. So that's kind of that's kind of the first segment. And so, Courtney, I'll ask you, what do you think of that? And what do you think how would you like to proceed forward?
Well, you know what? I don't notice it as much with Google, but for YouTube, I see it firsthand. Because remember I told you guys back a couple months ago on our live show, I said that I love watching ASMR videos. I explained what that is. I explained that it's something new that was discovered, and it's just like a powerful feeling you can get from certain noises and certain visuals and things like that. So it's such a new type of I guess, community, and they're building it up very well on YouTube. But what's sad is I see a lot of my favorite ASMR artists, as they call themselves, pleading to their fans saying, guys, please subscribe, please watch our videos, share our videos, because YouTube is pretty much, giving them their ass to kiss. And it makes me so sad because they don't realize how much of a disservice they're doing to the viewer, because ASMR is a beautiful thing that a lot of people can discover in themselves and could give them great peace. But now these videos are getting down to the push to the bottom of the queue, under like a bunch of makeup gurus and things like that. Everybody's a makeup guru, but these people are trying to take the time to introduce something that's very magical and very pleasurable to a lot of people, and it's not getting to the faces of people that could use it. People who have anxiety, people who want to relax, people who can't sleep. It's doing such a disservice to the viewers, and it's also taking away people's rights. Like I had, speaking on the point of when you said that if it's something that's not suitable and won't, their sponsors won't agree with it. I've seen that happen a lot of times where people are just expressing their views, and they may be popular, but they're expressing their views because they know they have an audience and a platform, and they want to get their views out there. And then what do you know? They snatch their video off, or they have a warning, or they lose subscriptions. It's really sad, and it really does kind of take away the true essence of what YouTube originally was for, was to express yourself and have a platform to get your opinion out, to show your talents, things like that. It takes that all away. So for me, it's a downer. YouTube is probably my life outside of a lot of, my business and this. So it definitely kind of puts a damper on the spirit. But as far as how, I hope that I can make a difference in it is, doing what we do now, being a voice and telling people, even if it's 6, 7, 8 people who actually truly care about it, letting people know and making them aware of what's going on, and that, it's so important. If you're a fan and you have someone you have been watching religiously since 2006, please keep watching their videos, show your support, share them, get the word out, because they really truly need your help. So we can definitely use this platform to get that out to people, to hopefully they can support the people that are really struggling with this right now.
Right. That's true. That's true. We're in such a wacky time, because the other thing too is that, like, the laws here in the United States with the First Amendment, that's us. That's how we do things. But in China, totally different. In Europe, totally different. So it's like YouTube in China or YouTube in France is very different than YouTube in the States. Yeah. It's very, very different. And I think, that's something that I guess maybe, for the people listening, just take the opportunity to say, hey, by the way, you really should register to vote. Hey, by the way, you should really pay attention to what's going on, because we're in a time right now where the corporations are really running things and can affect what we learn, what we see, the way history is being written, all of this stuff. And if you're not involved, you're gonna not make it better for generations ahead of us. You're gonna make it harder. And so it's kind of like we have to throw the emergency brake on the corporations and try to get the voice of the people back into our government, and all of this, all of this ties together, it all ties together. So that's kind of, that's that idea on the YouTube and the Google. Did you want to talk about one more thing, or do you want to,
Sure. It's the first time on the new format. Let's just keep it rolling. And,
okay.
I'm sure the folks would love to hear what else you got on the table. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, this one kind of ties again, ties to the internet, and it's talking about net neutrality. And for in really broad strokes, to try to explain to some of the listeners, if you know about it, great. That's great. Tell a friend. If you don't know about it, here's kind of the broad strokes of it. Basically, the internet is like a utility, like a light switch. You flip it on, you get the lights. You flip it off, the lights go off. But right now, what's happening is that there are larger communication companies that are trying to change the way you get the internet. And they're trying to parse it down into tiers. So, for example, you pay your utility bill, you pay your internet bill, right? But if you want to have faster internet, you have to pay for a bigger package. If you want to have more data, you want to be able to watch more videos, you have to have a different package. And so that's really the condensed version of it. And the question becomes, right now we all use the internet. We love in the States. We love the internet. We use it for photos and for music and to surf the net, and we learn about things. I use it for research all the time, and I think it's a great service. But I'm not sure I would want to pay more so I could look at photos of, like I already pay XYZ, and then on top of that, I got to pay more so I can, listen to iTunes. Yeah, exactly. I'm not quite sure that's going to fly. But what's interesting is that because we already have these laws in place, it's the Verizons and the Comcasts of the world they're almost like $100 million deep in lobbying to repeal these laws and to make it so that they can parse things out, like in England right now. In England, Vodafone basically is the internet provider, okay, and they have separate tiers. So they have a music tier, a social media tier, and a chat tier. And you have to pay on top of your service fee. You have to pay okay, well, you're doing more social media, Courtney, so you have to pay an extra XYZ dollars.
That's crazy.
Which is, or for chatting, like you want to be able to chat with your friends. Yeah, got to pay more. So that's how, and that's already in place. But here in the States, it's slightly different. But there are, the FCC is really being, with Ajit Pai, Trump's appointed internet guru, who's really wants to try to dismantle the FCC and dismantle the regulations in place so that the Comcasts of the world can charge whatever they want. Now, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember when Verizon and AT&T like pre-smartphones? Do you remember that?
Yes.
When you had okay? And do you remember how much it just sucked? It just sucked. If you wanted to. It was awful. And so what's happening is that the Verizons of the world, they want to repeal these laws and go back to the old way of the internet, where you're just like standing around right. And your files never load, which just sucks.
It takes like 2 hours to download like 5 songs. Just completely sucks. The other thing that's really fascinating too is that basically 86% of the citizens in the United States like the internet the way it is. Yep. 90% of Democrats like it the way it is. 82% of Republicans like it the way it is. In 2017, at the end of the year, in December of 2017, it was about 75% of Republicans. But now that the Republicans see, even although I am so against the Breitbarts of the world, like that, all that craziness, I'm totally against it. But all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, we're not going to be able to talk our like alt-right propaganda weirdness, and it's like, nope, you're about to get squashed for you too, So now they're realizing that they're not going to be able to get their message out, and that's something that's fascinating because let's say you take something like, I don't know, like campaigning. Campaigns cost a lot of money to run, and it's like the Republicans need to be able to use the internet the same way the Democrats need to be able to use the internet, because traditional TV is, with the exception of Sinclair, is expensive and harder to. It's expensive. It's hard to use. So it's really kind of fascinating. But enough of my rambling. Like, what do you think? Would you pay extra for, like, if things got parceled out like into tiers, like for music and chatting and such? You know what? It's so crazy because it always all comes down to two things. And that's control and money. They want to control what we have access to, and they know people will pay good money to get access to those things. And for me, sadly, I think I would be one of them. And the only reason is because I have to have access to a lot of platforms, a lot of media in different degrees, and whether it's chatting, whether it's, especially social media, because I know that's a hot topic and what they're really trying to control with net neutrality and whatnot. But I feel like, sadly, going against everything and my entire being, I would have to be one of those. I would have to pay. And it would break my heart. And it would definitely make me feel as though I'm being a hypocrite because it goes against everything I believe. But in the state that I'm in now, meaning like, where I am in my life, I need everything as is because
Right.
if not, shit's gonna go all kinds of ways and all sorts of crazy. So I have to have what I already have access to, and I cannot have any less. So for me, I would have no choice. But if it came down to it where we had the opportunity to fight, best believe I would be right there,
Right.
lending my voice, signing every petition, voting everything out, anything I could to make this not occur.
Right. What's interesting is that I think on the 18th of April of this month, Oregon passed a law that had basically said we're not changing it. And so the providers piping in their internet service are going to have to keep it fair and equal. Mm-hmm. And again, the reason why that is let's just say you have, Doug's Dairy Farm, right? And my dairy farm, I have cows and I sell milk and all that stuff. And if you want to go to my website and learn about me, my website would be slower than, let's say, Walmart's or Kroger's or Albertsons or one of the big grocery chains if you wanted to learn about milk. And that's what's so interesting is that the big corporations, they don't want some of it. They want all of it. And they want to control all of it. And then what ends up happening is you end up not having any choices. Mm-hmm. You have, which I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of communism and such, but it's like having a free and open market, which is what, the Republicans claim is the way to do things and the Democrats claim is the way to do things. Both of them, I would definitely point my finger at both of them, mm-hmm. Then why would you allow this to be repealed? You want to try to keep it exact. And then the reason is why? Why? And it goes back to, a lot of the politicians get kickbacks from the communications companies and from Silicon Valley, and then they vote in certain directions. And that's what's, the bad part is that, all you end up with is less. You don't end up with more. You end up with less. And that's like, with the internet, I think that I know California right now is working on legislation to be able to be, I guess you could say, independent of what happens federally at the FCC level, and we'll have to see how that goes. How that plays out. But again, in ringing the bell, we're at this spot where I don't know, maybe before, if you wanted to read independent media, you went to the coffee shop and there was a small magazine or a fanzine or an independent newspaper that you'd never heard of, or a magazine you'd never heard of. And you're like, wow, this is pretty interesting. I'd never seen this thing. What's their circulation? How does it work? And one of the greatest things about the internet is it made it an even playing field. Mm-hmm. So that if you wanted to promote your I Love Thumbtacks website, everything dedicated to thumbtacks. God bless thumbtacks. That's all I want to talk about is thumbtacks. What's wrong? Of course, mine would be the best coffee cup in the world. It's just a website of coffee cups. Don't be a hater. Don't be a hater. But I certainly don't want Verizon throttling my website and, or Comcast throttling my website. People want to know. They want to know the best coffee cup. They can't. They need to know. They need to know.
They have to know. That's how America runs. America runs on coffee and coffee cups.
There you go. Anyway, that's all I have to say for today. That's all I have to say for today.
You know what? I love it. I love talking about politics and really being able to kind of stress my. I feel like I'm a little bit intellectual. I mean, I always stress my ratchet side and my ditzy side and my creative side, but I do have a brain. So I love that I get to flex it with you, Doug. I appreciate it.
That's good. It's good. And I love it too. And it's also, if you and I aren't talking about it, that's bad. We're supposed to talk about it. Yeah. So if one person on the other side of the podcast hears it and they're like, what? Doug, Courtney, you guys are crazy. That's not true. They're not trying to take away my internet. And it'd be like, no, look it up. You should really check it out. And that's the whole, I'm not trying to posture and tell anybody that I'm better than them or that their way is wrong. That's not my style. My style is more like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I'm not really in agreement. Where are you with it? And that's what's so cool about the format, and that's what's so cool about this podcast. So I agree with you. It's a good
dialogue, healthy dialogue, debate, and you need that. You need that to kind of carry. We need these outlets so that we can reach people of all kinds and let them know, hey, we are just as baffled as you are. This is why.
Right. Exactly. Do you want to talk a little bit about, well, I guess we're starting to wrap it up. So maybe I was going to say, do we want to talk a little bit about what's coming down the line podcast wise? Yes, wink, wink. Or do you want to save it?
You know what? Let's keep them listening. I think we're not want to spoil too much. We're gonna definitely, if you guys listen in tomorrow at 8, same time as today. I know that's a little strange, so if you guys can work it in your schedule. If not, that is fine because you can always download each episode, so you don't have to listen live. It's great to have you here, have you chat in our chat box, but if you cannot make it, always download the content. So we'll be here again live tomorrow at 8 p.m. I also wanted to say, please, big shout out to Oregon because they're making moves. They vote against things that the rest of us have so much work into actually doing. They also have they passed the Death with Dignity Act, which I'm really, really for. If you guys don't know what that is, please look it up. We'll have a chat about it. But Oregon really makes moves in the right direction as often as possible. So big shout out to Oregon.
Go Oregon!
But yes, guys. Oregon. Like I said, we have so many changes coming. We have so many good, exciting things. We have new people that will be introducing, new segments, and a whole bunch of shit. A whole bunch of fun shit, a whole bunch of savage shit, and you got to be here to be a part of it. So please listen tomorrow live at 8. And as always, what we do, Doug, what are we doing?
Stay savage! That was my wrestler voice.
Love it.